And welcome back, everybody. Welcome to Standing Committee of Canadian Heritage. As we take a look at, we're concerned and enveloped with Bill C-10 and clause by clause consideration. So what we're going to do, before I get into giving the floor to Ms. DeBruzen, I just want to say that we will likely be interrupted towards the end of the meeting. Now, I'm going to use Eastern times, of course. We are anticipating the bells to ring at 12:30 Eastern time for a vote. Now, the way this normally works is if we want to extend the meeting into bells for a period of time that is okay with us, then we have to ask for consent to do that. Otherwise, I just stop the meeting, adjourn the meeting right there and then so that we can go vote. I'm not asking right now, obviously. We'll figure that out by the time we get there as we are masters of our own domain. So now let's go back to the topic at hand, of course. We are considering Bill C-10, clause by clause consideration. Ms. DeBruzen, you have the floor.
And I believe that Mr. Housefather is right after me, and I'd like to cede the floor to him, please.
Very well. Mr. Housefather.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. If you beg I beg your indulgence, I'd like to propose a motion. I listened very carefully to what happened last Friday, and I'm hopeful that this motion will end the impasse that we have had. Mr. Chair, I'd like to propose that the committee asks the Minister of Justice to provide a revised charter statement on Bill C-10 as soon as possible, focusing on whether the committee's changes to the bill related to programs uploaded by users of social media services have impacted the initial charter statement provided, in particular, as relates to Section 2B of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And two, invites the Minister of Justice and the Minister of Canadian Heritage, accompanied by relevant department officials, to appear before the committee as soon as possible to discuss the revised charter statement and any implication of amendments made by the committee to the bill. And I believe, Mr. Chairman, that limiting the motion to those 2 points that I've heard every member of the committee support should yield a motion that we can all adopt. The clerk has a copy of the motion, Mr. Chairman, in both official languages, and I will wait to speak until everybody receives it. Thank you, and I'll wait to speak to it.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Mr. Housefather. I'm just looking around the virtual room to see if everyone has received a copy of what he is talking about. I see a lot of thumbs, but if someone does not have it, can you get my attention, please? Okay, it appears everybody has it. Mr. Housefather, you have the floor for your motion.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So I noticed, and we all noticed, that over the past 3 meetings, we have accomplished next to nothing. We continued to go on and on and on, talking out loud, but we did not adopt any amendments for which we do have a consensus. And Mr. Chair, it is clear that we have a consensus on 2 things. One, that we want for the Minister of Justice to provide us with a revised charter statement, and we have a consensus that we want for it to be done as soon as possible to address comments made by certain committee members and in the media. And secondly, we agreed that after receiving that statement, we want for the Minister of Justice and the Minister of Heritage to testify as soon as possible before our committee. So there is a difference between what we think should be done before that time, but at least if we adopt this amendment, we can move forward to ask legal experts to provide us with that revised charter statement and also to set a date for the ministers to come and testify.
Colleagues, in the hope that this is something that we can all support. There is no reason to filibuster a motion like this, because this motion is exactly what everyone is saying they want, and it doesn't presuppose what the committee will or will not do with respect to clause by clause on the bill, which is where we've had our differences before the time we received the charter statement. So I'm hopeful, Mr. Chair, that this will receive a unanimous support of the members of the committee, It's yet another effort. I think we can all work together. We have worked together in the past well, and I'm trying my best, and I think all of us are trying our best to try to find that solution. I hope this is the case. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Housefather. Just a quick reminder to everybody, and I'm not saying this was done by you, sir, but when you're switching from one language to the other, could you take a pause before you do that? Because sometimes the first part of your sentence gets lost on that. You've actually been pretty good about that, Mr. Housefather, but it just occurred to me that when you switch from one language to the other, that would help us greatly if you could pause before you proceed. Mr. Lewis.
Fantastic. I just wanted to echo Mr. Housefather's opinion. We have all been working well together, and I think that the motion that he's put forward has really kind of blended together everything we've talked about. We've heard from our arts organizations looking for support. We all support free speech. I think that this motion strikes the balance and lets us keep working together in a way that we know we can. And so I just wanted to add my support to this motion that Mr. Housefather has said, and I think that we can continue working forward together and get this done as soon as possible for the right reasons. Appreciate that.
Ms. Ian.
Mr. Chair, good morning. And in fact, this is a team sport. It is about working together. We have done so extremely well to this point, and then look forward to working with my fellow colleagues to continue doing just that. I'm in full support of what Mr. Housefather has put forward here, and hoping that this really means we can move forward and do what needs to be done. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Ian. Monsieur Reyes.
Mr. Reyes.
For those who have already spoken, can I get you to lower your hands, please? Thank you very much. Mr. Reyes, you have the.
Merci.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to highlight Mr. Housefather's effort. As usual, he tried to strike an acceptable balance for everyone. We also intended to table an amendment to try and find common ground. With that said, Mr. Chair, much like last meeting, my colleague Martin Shields asked the same. Could we please take 5 to 10 minutes to discuss among members of our party so that we can look at Mr. Housefather's proposal together and see what we might like to propose? Perhaps make a few small tweaks to the motion. I'm sure we can find common ground. I'm not confirming it, but I would like to at least take time amongst our party to come back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Okay, looking around the room, I don't think I see any exception to what his request is. We will take, I'm going to say up to 10 minutes, but as you know, as we normally do things, once you've decided to come back onto the meeting, can you please just, turn off your video to start and then turn on your video when you're ready to come back? That way I can gauge when we're ready to reconvene. Okay, so let's suspend for up to about 10 minutes. go. Monsieur Reyes.
Mr. Reyes.
Merci, Monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've raised my hand so that we could have a moment to respond to Mr. Housefather's motion. So if I may, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Kevin Waugh to present the sub-amendment to you. With that said, I don't want to go against the rights of Ms. McPherson and Mr. Champoux. I know that at the end of Friday's meeting, people might have been frustrated. Everyone was tired as well. And I didn't mean to offend Mr. Champoux by not allowing him to express himself. I think I misunderstood the directive at that time. But I would like to give Mr. Waugh time to propose a compromise for Mr. Housefather's motion.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. As you know, I am loath to break the speaking order. It's pretty sacrosanct here, as you know, especially in the virtual world, that makes it even more. I will do as you wish. However, I am seeking the permission of two speakers ahead of Mr. Waugh. Mr. Champoux is the first one. Ms. McPherson is the second. I'm just looking to both of them. If I can get a thumbs up from them, for Mr. Waugh to propose something, or if they would like to speak right now, Mr. Champoux, you're next in line.
Je préférerais attendre.
I would prefer to wait, Mr. Chair, to hear what Mr. Waugh and his team have to propose on the motion tabled by Mr. Housefather. Thank you.
That now brings us to Ms. McPherson. Ms. McPherson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm happy to hear from Mr. Waugh. I just want to ensure that this is not going to be another filibustering situation where we don't actually get the floor back until 2 hours have passed. If we can confirm that, then that would be great.
I'm not sure how Mr. Waugh wants to deal with that, but it's I guess what I'm doing. I'll tell you what. I'll go to Mr. Waugh right now if you want to respond to that, sir. But I still have Ms. McPherson, Mr. Champoux. I'll tell you what I'm doing. Sometimes I allow people to intervene if they've been asked a direct question. This has been more like a direct request. So if it's all the same to you, Mr. Waugh, if you plan on speaking at great length, we'll say, which I'm sure you're capable of doing, I'm going to have to cut you off because I'd like to stick to the original one because we have a request to go to you over the other two speakers. So, Mr. Waugh, I'm going to give you the floor.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to thank our colleagues, Mr. Champoux and Ms. McPherson. And first off this morning, I want to thank Mr. Housefather for bringing another amendment forward or another motion forward, and that's good. So I think the clerk has what we have drawn out by now. At least I hope the clerk has got it. And if so, Mr. Chair, I'd like to read it into the record. Okay, good. Everything's there, and hopefully members of the committee, all 11 of us, have what I'm going to propose here, both in English and French. And I'll start first that the committee, number one, asked the Minister of Justice to provide a revised charter statement on Bill C-10 as soon as possible, focusing on whether the committee's changes to the bill related to content uploaded by users of social media services have impacted the initial charter statement provided, in particular as relates to Section 2 and in brackets B of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And then number two in front of you, invite the Minister of Justice and the Minister of Canadian Heritage, accompanied by relevant department officials, along with Mr. Michael Geist, to appear separately before the committee as soon as possible to discuss the revised charter statement and any implications of amendments made by the committee to the bill. And I know, on the government side, they're going to reach out to the Justice Minister and the Minister of Canadian Heritage. And I would like just to say as soon as possible, but we have 3 proposed meetings for next week, which is constituency week, and hopefully we could fit all 3 in to Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. And number 3, we'll consider, notwithstanding any standing order or usual practice, additional amendments to the bill, including the clauses previously disposed of, arising from the evidence received through points 1 and 2 above, provided that the amendments are submitted no later than 7 days following the completion of both points 1 and 2. So in essence, Mr. Chair and members of the Canadian Heritage Committee, we too would like to move on. We've seen in the last 2 weeks a lot of talk, not a lot of action. But at the same token, Mr. Chair, the three people that we would like to hear from coming up are very important. Minister of Justice, Minister of Canadian Heritage, and we also would like to get the other side, Dr. Michael Geist. And many of us have followed him on social media here in the past. And I can tell you, when the Conservatives were in government, he was a thorn in their side. And likewise now with the Liberals. So this is not partisan. This is just a person that we think, and I would think all committee members have followed him, would think, he's been pretty balanced on this. And, you know, when you're in government, you don't agree so, but when you're in opposition, you kind of do. But I can say from the Harper years, Mr. Geist, Dr. Geist, was pretty hard on the Conservatives too, but he also has a very good view that I think we've seen on social media in the last several weeks that is gaining a lot of traction, and he has knowledge. And I think if we could get the Justice Minister, Canadian Minister of Heritage, and Dr. Geist for next week, that would be great. So there you go, Mr. Chair. I'm fairly short on that.
Yes, I'm fairly short as well. Nevertheless, just to summarize what has been proposed in a sub-amendment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow this conversation to unfold right now. I may at some point over the next little while refer to the clerks and suspend for just a short period of time, only for clarification. Right now, I'm pretty sure I know what the intention here is. If I could just quickly summarize, you're sub-amending Mr. Housefather's motion, Mr. Waugh, to take out the word in the second sentence programs to include the word contents. Also, in addition to the Minister of Canadian Heritage and the Minister of Justice, you want to invite Dr. Michael Geist, University of Ottawa. And if I get this right, I'll just summarize. I won't go into detail. But point number 3, require additional amendments needed, and go through the motions of bringing that to the floor about additional amendments that may be needed because of the first 2 points, right?
Well said, Mr. Chair. Right.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's a shocker. Nevertheless, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to return to the original speaking order, and that goes back to Mr. Sean. Well, okay, on my screen I have it inverted, but Ms. McPherson, that's okay. I'm going to go to Mr. Champoux because that was the original. Okay, great. So let's go, Mr. Champoux. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thank our Conservative colleagues. I recognize that they showed openness, and I hadn't seen that openness for a few meetings now. With that said, for the first part of the amendment proposed to Mr. Housefather's motion, so the part regarding the replacement of programs with content, I think that that is acceptable. But where I have serious reservations is in inviting anyone else, whether it be Mr. Geist or anyone else. I think if Mr. Geist is allowed to be invited, I think we need to open the door to invite other witnesses. Because although Mr. Geist is certainly a credible witness, he is a credible witness that our colleagues have repeatedly quoted, he has at the same time been extremely vocal on social media, so we know his point of view very well. We have a good idea already of what he will come and say in his testimony before committee. And I don't think that he is necessarily the supreme authority for the work that we are doing. And he will also probably contradict the 2 ministers' opinion, whether they come to talk about the committee's amendment or in regards to the revised charter statement. ministers, or rather, on our teams, we also have people who are experts, and we have references that we could call upon. So I do not think that inviting Mr. Geis is a good idea, Mr. Chair. Even though I am very pleased to see openness, I believe in openness, I think that inviting Mr. Geis would open the door to inviting other witnesses, because there are so many possible speakers, for example, from the culture sector, who were already invited here and who have been calling on us for the last number of weeks because they are concerned by the impasse that the committee has experienced. And rightly so, they want to be heard just as much as I'm sure Mr. Geist does. So for that portion of the proposed amendment, I do not think it is a good idea to reopen that door to invite other witnesses. I think we have the necessary resources to form a very well-informed opinion for ourselves by inviting the ministers as agreed upon before. We will have all of the reassurances we need, and we will be able to move forward on this important bill. That is my opinion. And now I'll listen to others' opinions.
Before we do that, I just had a request from the ledge clerk to have a conversation. So I'm going to suspend for just literally just 2 minutes. Please don't go far. So quick suspension, back in just a few moments. Proposed the sub-amendment. I had the legislative folks have a look at it, and we just had a discussion, and they brought up a good point. Okay, what the first one about content, we're fine. Providing an extra guest in Dr. Michael Geist, fine. Here's the problem with number 3. If you're proposing to go back to do this, you know that unanimous consent is required in order to do that. What this tries to do is you're seeking out a majority decision to go back and revisit those. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. So in the spirit of cooperation, I don't know if you would like to have another run at that, but obviously since number 3 is inadmissible, that makes the whole sub-amendment, the amendment inadmissible. So before I go to Ms. McPherson, I'm going to go to Mr. Waugh, since it is his amendment to seek out his opinion. But as I've just noted, it is inadmissible because of point number 3, and we cannot circumvent the requirement on unanimous consent. Mr. Waugh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for the clarification from the clerks here this morning. Yeah, good point.
Would you like some time, sir?
Yeah, I actually need a little time. You know, to us, number 3 was very important.
I understand.
And that was our arguing point, actually, when Mr. Housefather brought this last week. You know, so I hate to say it, but I think it is admissible by virtue of the notwithstanding any standing order or usual practice. But I don't know. Do we need another 5 minutes, Elaine? I'm speaking out loud here, and I know I shouldn't be, but this was our hill actually to die in. So could we get a pause?
Yes, and also I'm going to consult about what you just brought up about notwithstanding any other practices. Okay, I will consult about that as well, and you go back and consult and have a chat. And again, folks, turn off your camera. We're going to suspend. When you're ready to come back, please turn on your camera once more. Thank you. So let's have a suspension.
Thanks.
back, everybody. So as I suspected, I did check, of course, with the legislative staff here, and I just want to point something out. I understand that within the House, there are many times when we use the term notwithstanding certain orders. In other words, we put aside certain rules by the fact that we want to put something forward. Let's bear in mind at committee, things run differently. If the rule has been made by the committee, then we can do as you asked, as to notwithstanding a certain provision created by the committee. However, there is this thing. Sorry if I'm using a prop, but this is our Bible. This is what is dictated to us by the Bible. So we cannot do the notwithstanding only because it is part of the standing orders, and the House, not the committee, the House won't allow us to do that. So therefore, it remains as inadmissible. Now, I see Ms. McPherson is next in order. So, Mr. Waugh, we broke with you asking about this, whether it was admissible or not. So, with the patience of Ms. McPherson, may I return, Mr. Waugh, but I'm going to have to ask you to please keep it brief. I don't want you to start arguing your points of content, only try to keep it to what you just discussed before we broke. Thank you.
I've always done that. You know that, Mr. Chair.
I cannot argue that, sir. You go right ahead.
So you're ruling our current point 3 is out of order then, right? You've ordered.
Correct.
Okay. So
Correct.
may I propose this, that number 1 and 2 stands. Number 3 then would say this: suspend clause by clause consideration of Bill 10 until the completion of both points 1 and 2. So it's very simple. And I hope the clerk has notification of that by now. That so 1 would still be the same, 2 would be the same, but number 3 then is, because you've made the ruling that we suspend the clause by clause consideration of this bill until the completion of both points 1 and 2. So that's as short as I can make it for you.
Okay. I'm going to, because I don't want to proceed without giving anyone indication that this is applicable or not. I think I know where this is going, but since I am not an expert, I'm going to have to ask Mr. Mela to, if he has a copy, to come on board and have a quick discussion.
Yes,
Mr. Mela, there you are.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I don't have a copy right in front of me. I'm sorry, my camera doesn't seem to be working at the moment. Maybe my colleague wants to help me out with that, but you don't need my face, really. Oh, there we go. Apparently you do.
There you
go. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
My apologies. I should have. Mr. Mela, I meant to say you and the clerk, whichever would like to, you or the clerk would like to talk to us about what was just requested by Mr. Waugh. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so I'll take a shot at it. Yeah, what Mr. Waugh indicated would make sense in the sense of it's admissible and it may achieve what he wants to achieve in a way. It's not going to be able to achieve the point of reopening any clauses, since we know that requires the unanimous consent of the committee. But it would do the way it has been spelled out, would do what Mr. Waugh is looking for. So that's pretty much all I can say on that.
Okay. Let's go to our clerk. Amy, would you like to add to that?
No, I agree with Mr. Mela. It's very clear what the consequence of this new provision would be, and it wouldn't be in conflict with any of the rules regarding vote taking and reopening votes. Just a side note, I just in the last 30 seconds received the amended version, but I have it unilingually, so I will need to arrange translation before I can distribute.
Okay, Before that, I wanted to go to both clerks. I wanted to get both their opinions on this just to make sure everyone is clear of what is happening. We will get you the copies in just a few moments, but I wanted Mr. Waugh to illustrate the points. I think that's sufficient right now, and he has now a new amendment on the floor that we are going to discuss. That being said, we go back to our originally scheduled programming. Ms. McPherson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is really nice to be here today and to have us be all working collaboratively to get some work done on this legislation to actually start to do our jobs. And it's also, nice that we are hearing from more than one or two members of this committee today. I have a couple questions just about the amendment that Mr. Waugh has brought forward. First of all, I'm wondering whether or not it is necessary for us to do those meetings separately. That seems to me like a very big waste of time. That if we could have one meeting for the ministers to come, that would be preferable from my point of view. I just feel like as we try to move forward with this, to be able to hold 3 solid meetings aside for this seems excessive. It seems a little bit to be, if I'm feeling cynical, a little bit like maybe a delay tactic. So I would be interested in hearing from Mr. Waugh perhaps about why he feels that there needs to be 3 separate 2-hour meetings devoted to that. The other question that I have is that if the ministers aren't able to come next week, for example, would that mean that we would just completely stop the work that we're undertaking within this committee? That seems problematic to me as well. And I'm wondering if the clerk or the analyst, if anyone could provide some clarity on whether or not we could use unanimous consent to pass the original number 3 that Mr. Waugh had put forward, and if that might be a way that we could get around this so that we could continue to do our work. We could continue to look at the legislation, but also make sure that we are addressing the concerns that are being raised in Mr. Waugh's motion or amendment.
Just so that I'm clear, Ms. McPherson, before we move on, 2 things. Number 1, you would like to see number 3 dealt with from a unanimous consent perspective. You would like to put that question to the committee. Is that correct?
Well, I would actually just like to put that question to the clerk, if that is a way that we could in fact deal with it, if that would meet what Mr. Waugh was and his colleagues were trying to achieve in the initial amendment. So I just, I want to make sure that this is getting a little bit complicated, a little bit into the weeds. So I'd like some perspective from some of the specialists that we have on this call. But then I'd also like to just encourage us to continue the work and find a way to do that.
Okay, I can provide some clarification because I've had this discussion already. There is a way by which you can. Now, I want everyone to just, I'll do this very slowly so that everybody understands. Ms. McPherson was asking, can we seek unanimous consent to go back to other provisions that we've already, or other amendments that we've already covered under C10? There is a path to do that, and I'll go to the clerk in just a few moments to get careful clarification. But this is how it can work. Now, you could adjourn the motion with a clarification. If you adjourn this motion, the debate on the motion, provided that you also have a clarification that you want to seek unanimous consent, it's not a dilatory motion. We can debate it if you wish, and then go to that very thing that you want to get to. Then upon that, following that, we can go back to Mr. Housefather's motions or the amendments that have been proposed. I hope that was somewhat clear. Madam Clerk, where's Amy? Go ahead, Amy. Rescue this poor man.
Thank you, sir. No, you're doing quite well. What Mr. Sims was saying, if it's the desire of the committee at this point to deal with the UC provision in order to allow itself the latitude to reopen decisions that were already taken, you can't really circumvent that without having unanimous consent. It can't be decided by majority decision. One way to get to determining whether or not there is unanimous consent would be to adjourn the debate on the motion currently under consideration and any proposed amendments. Deal with the unanimous consent issue. and then resume debate on the motion. The way to do that in the same meeting is to not propose a dilatory motion. The difference between a dilatory motion and not. Voting to adjourn debate on a motion is a dilatory motion. You can't go back to it on the same meeting. Voting to adjourn debate on a motion, provided that we do these other things afterwards, that becomes debatable and amendable. The minute you put a qualifier in there, it no longer becomes a dilatory motion. And when you've satisfied the terms of the qualifier, when you've dealt with the unanimous consent provision, allowing to reopen provisions of the bill, you would then return to consideration on the motion before you, if that is the condition that you have put in. If we require more clarity on this, I'm happy to provide it. It's just, honestly, it's the difference between dilatory and non-dilatory, debatable and non-debatable. If you choose to put a qualifier in, it's not dilatory. It is debatable and amendable, and you would be able to return on the same meeting to what you are currently considering.
Thank you. So Ms. McPherson, we're going out to deal with that, come back in following that. We can do that in the same meeting. Sorry if this has taken too long, but this is what you were asking, correct? About
Point of order.
getting to point of order, Mr. Shields, go ahead.
Just for clarification, when
Point of clarification, go ahead.
When the clerk said returning to debating motion, which motion, our sub-amendment or Mr. Housefather's motion? What would we be returning to?
We would return to the amendment as proposed.
Mr. Waz?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Now, Ms. McPherson, the second point I wanted to bring up to you was that you had a specific question to Mr. Waugh. And would you like to ask very quickly? Now, in saying that, Mr. Aitchison is next in the speaking order. Mr. Aitchison, do I have your tacit approval to go to Mr. Waugh with a question?
My wholehearted approval, Mr. Chair.
Excellent. With that enthusiasm, what choice do I have? Ms. McPherson, do you want to very quickly just pose your question?
I'm Mr. Waugh, I was just wanting some clarity on why separately is in your motion. I'm wondering whether or not it wouldn't be possible for us to ask questions of your guests or the witnesses you've suggested within one meeting. I just don't understand why all three of them have to be separate. I agree. It's not that hard a question.
Mr. Waugh, very quickly, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's remove the word separately in the second motion here that I have, and I agree. The other thing, Mr. Chair, maybe the NDP and the Bloc want to bring one too. You know, we have Dr. Michael Geist as ours. Maybe they want one, and I see no reason why they couldn't.
I have to put each and every individual horse in front of a cart here, sir.
All right.
I have to go along in order. I understand that. I appreciate your enthusiasm to get this done. Mr. Aitchison, you have the floor.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. So just to be clear, we're now discussing Mr. Waugh's amendment, I guess, as amended with a different clause 3. Is that what we're talking about now?
Yes, the first one was inadmissible. The second one, which you have now, that is the one we are currently debating. What was just talked about was the situation where you could try to go to unanimous consent. That was asked by Ms. McPherson, but we are currently on Mr. Waugh's amendment.
Okay, well then I'll be very as quick as I can be. What I like about this, I'm hearing a lot of agreeing. I'm hearing a lot of people, coming up with solutions. And that's great. It's a demonstration of us all trying to, move forward here. I think it is important to have Dr. Geist. He's the research chair on internet and e-commerce. He's an expert. I think we all agree that this is important for the cultural sectors in our country. We absolutely all agree there. But I think we would all agree that we don't want to do anything that might have the potential or the opportunity to infringe upon freedom of expression. And that's why, we need to take this pause to make sure our charter statement is correct and hear from a nonpartisan expert who seems to have distaste for conservatives as much as anything else. So that's probably positive for everybody at the committee. And I think that by pausing our clause by clause, it puts the feet to the fire of the ministers. It's important for them as well, so they'll get here as quickly as possible, and we can keep moving. I think that this is a reasonable compromise that demonstrates, we're happy to keep moving as well. But we want to hear from the ministers, want to hear from Dr. Geist, and until we do, we won't continue, because we want to make sure that we're not infringing in any way whatsoever on Canadians' freedom of expression. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Reyes.
Merci.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just lower my hand. So I would like to come back to what was presented. I'll also try to be brief. I can feel real will to find a compromise between all members on the motion tabled this morning by Mr. Housefather. First, as you can see, we made sure that point number 3 is admissible. Then we answered Ms. McPherson's question. We do not want to delay things. We just wanted to give time to everyone to ask their questions without being under pressure, given the importance of the matter. But there's no problem. As we said, and Mr. Waugh has already confirmed that we can remove the word separately. I think we could easily have 1 meeting or a maximum of 2 meetings to meet those 3 witnesses. I would like to come back to Mr. Champoux' comment. With all due respect for his comment earlier about Mr. Geist, why are we where we are today? It's because C10 took a turn in a different direction. And I have spoken to this at length over the past 3 meetings, but at the beginning in the bill, there was a clause that was removed. We can come back to what we've said before. New versions of amendments were then tabled by the government to rectify the situation. So why are we proposing Michael Geist? As Mr. Champoux well explained it's someone who is a veritable expert. And he was also a critic of the former government, so this is not a partisan issue. This is not someone who is particularly a friend to the Conservatives. He is a research chair on the matter at hand. Also, I would add something to Mr. Champoux' comments. I think we all agree that we must help the cultural sector. This is not a partisan issue. Again, the issue is that we want to ensure rights of expression, freedom of expression under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And we want to offer the opportunity to all MPs to ask their questions to witnesses. So this is a bill that changed over time, and that is the reason why we want to invite witnesses at this level. Afterwards, we will all together be able to continue our work freely. I said I would be brief, so I will conclude. I'm sure there's no problem in our eyes, and I'm sure Mr. Waugh can propose suitable amendments to the motion. We see no problem with removing the word separately. And in 2 meetings, we can hear from the 2 ministers, and we have no problem with other parties of the opposition inviting other witnesses for a second meeting to appear alongside Mr. Geist. Even the Liberals. But I don't know how they could find another witness with more expertise than the ministers, given the teams that they have. But the Bloc and the NDP are welcome to invite another witness. And I would like to reiterate, why are we making this request? Well, it is because this bill has changed since it was tabled. before our committee. If that had not been the case, we would not be where we are today. So I wanted to clarify, because I don't want for our actions to be interpreted as filibustering. If other parties wish to invite witnesses, they're welcome to. I think this is a great way for us to get out of this stalemate, this impasse. And if we had heard from the ministers from the outset, we wouldn't be where we are today, but I won't get into that. So I think that we can all find a compromise. Thank you.
Just before I go to Ms. Harder, I'm starting to read the room a little better now about when it comes to what you just mentioned. Mr. Reyes, were you suggesting to sub-amend Mr. Waugh's amendment to take out the word separately? Is that, I'm seeing a lot of nods, because if the committee so desires, we can dispense with that right away. Do I see any objection with sub-amending right away a vote? Unanimous consent? No objection. We're taking separately out of his amendment. Let me, for those, like in the case of Ms. Harder, who just joined us, what Mr. Waugh is proposing to do with Mr. Housefather's motion is this. He takes out in point 1, takes out the word programs, replaces it with the word content. In 2, he would invite Minister of Justice and the Minister of Canadian Heritage and Dr. Michael Geist to appear before the committee, not separately, appear before the committee. And in number 3, suspend clause by clause consideration of Bill C-10 until the completion of both points 1 and 2 that I just read. Right. Okay. Ms. Harder, you have the floor.
Monsieur le Président, est-ce que je pourrais juste...
Mr. Chair, could I just give more clarification on my point?
Sure. Go ahead.
Quickly.
After you. Go ahead.
J'ai juste souligné que...
I just highlighted that if other parties wanted to invite other witnesses, we could propose a change to our amendment if that was what was causing the problem, so that all parties have the chance to invite someone. So I'm not proposing that right now, but after we talk about it, if that could let us find an agreement, we would be open.
Thank you. Ms. Harder.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, sorry, I do wonder if Mr. Shields had his hand up before me. There's no chance of that having been the case.
Yeah, Ms. Harder, what I have is you, then I have Mr. Housefather, Mr. Shampoo, and then Mr. Shields. Go ahead.
Perfect. Okay. Sorry, my bad. Sure. So just a quick comment on this on this motion. I think we're making significant.
Rappel au règlement, Monsieur le Président.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
One moment, we have point of order, Mr. Shampoo.
Madame Harder.
Pardon? Mr. Shampoo, can I get you to repeat what your point of order? Go ahead.
Nous n'avons pas la traduction, Madame Harder.
We are not receiving interpretation in French.
Okay. Since it was English to French, I'll just keep talking right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I come to you from the proud part of central Newfoundland. Very good.
We got it, Mr. Chair.
Much to say. Mr. Harder, or Mr. Oh my goodness. I knew at some point this is going to be.
I go by Miss, but it's okay. It's okay.
Miss Harder. First of all, my deepest apologies. Second of all, Miss Harder, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Just a very brief comment here. First off, I think this motion is being strengthened as we go along. I think, Ms. McPherson has offered, to change it from separately. We've obviously agreed to take that out. So be it. I think that's fine. I think, number 3 is very important, that we would suspend clause by clause consideration of Bill C-10 until the completion of both points 1 and 2. Of course, we know why this is important, because we feel that this charter statement is absolutely necessary in order to make the best decisions going forward. And then, of course, hearing from those witnesses is going to also give us a better understanding of this bill. Here's why that is of utmost importance. We can see that the Minister of Heritage himself is struggling to answer some really basic questions about this bill. And so if he himself doesn't have a full understanding of what this legislation does and does not do, and is not able to clearly communicate on that point, then I'm confused as to why this committee would be expected to have a clear understanding of this piece of legislation. I think it's incumbent upon all of us then to seek the input from those who would be able to give us better insight and help us come to a place of clearly understanding the parameters of this bill and what it does. And then, of course, within that, I'm talking about witnesses, but I'm also talking about the charter statement, which we know that this bill has fundamentally changed since it was first introduced in the fall and when the original charter statement was provided. Obviously, because of those changes, a new charter statement is the responsible thing to seek, and it will help us do a better job as legislators and rightly represent Canadians. Thank you.
Mr. Housefather.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Look, when I put forward the motion, I had tried to create a consensus, which was 2 points, which is one, we get a charter statement, and two, that the ministers testify about a charter statement put out by the Department of Justice. It wasn't to create the ministers as a panel of witnesses that were partisan. The ministers were there to deal with a statement put out by the Department of Justice. However, if there is a desire, I could think of many experts also that are equally proficient in this matter than Michael Geist. If there is a desire to have an expert panel where each party, each of the 4 parties represented on the committee, not 3 of the 4, all 4, put forward an expert witness, can I suggest that we then sub-amend Mr. Waugh's proposal to say that we would have 2 different panels, one with the ministers and their officials, hopefully on Friday of this week so we can move forward, and one at our next meeting on the Monday of the next week with each party putting forward an expert witness to testify on that panel. And if we could sub-amend Mr. Waugh's proposal to do that, hopefully then we have a consensus to actually move forward and get everything done so that we could then move back to clause by clause after the charter statement, the ministers appear in the expert panel. Because even if I wanted to continue clause by clause at this point, I can see based on our last 3 meetings that we're never going to have the ability to actually do that until these things happen. So I look to Mr. Waugh, but I'd be happy to sub-amend his motion, his amendment to do that. Or maybe I just did, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
No, I have to go to Mr. Champoux first to do that. Mr. Champoux.
Merci.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, I have exactly the same thought. After all of the time we've spent on this, if the ministers are not ready to come and testify as soon as possible, and if the charter statement is not already prepared, well, that means that there's a problem somewhere. So I do agree. I have or rather, I think sometimes compromises need to be made, and this is a way to do it. And I would like for our Liberal colleagues to put all the necessary pressure on the ministers to come prepared as soon as possible so that at the earliest meeting, as Mr. Housefather proposed, we can each invite 1 witness per party. I think that's a very acceptable compromise. And after that, we will finally get back to our work and table such an important bill for our industry. So I'm completely for it. I think this is a very acceptable compromise. I vote for it.
Okay, let's go back to what was just said prior. Mr. Housefather, I'm going to call you to the floor once again. If you don't, it's okay, sir. You moved a sub-amendment. We're going to see clarification on what that sub-amendment is.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. What I would propose is to, as opposed to Mr. Waugh's original sub-amendment, or original amendment, that simply added Mr. Geist, Dr. Geist, excuse me. I would propose to replace the words Dr. Geist with an expert panel consisting of 1 witness from each party that would testify. And I believe, so we have 1, just so that everybody has my understanding, we'd have 1 panel with the 2 ministers and their department officials, and 1 panel that would consist of 1 expert named by each party on this committee.
Okay. Things are going fast and furious here. Sorry, Mr. Housefather, I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you finished?
Yep.
Okay. I didn't mean to, sorry. Okay. Things are running fast and furious. Let me just, if I may be so bold, Mr. Housefather, I'm going to encapsulate what you just said. Here's a précis of what's been done, just so that everybody has the same understanding. What the sub-amendment from Mr. Housefather wants to do is to take the amendment of Mr. Waugh, and instead of saying, well, specifically, yes, maintain the Minister of Justice, maintain the Minister of Canadian Heritage. Instead of Dr. Michael Geist, we replace it with an expert panel with one witness from each of the recognized parties on the committee. That would be 4 in total, one from the Liberals, Conservatives, Bloc, and the NDP. That, I see Mr. Housefather nodding, so I'm assuming that characterizes what he wants to do. Now, we can open up debate on that if you wish, or we can proceed to a vote. Do I see hands? Anyone? I know you have your virtual hands up. Now I see that real hand needs to go up if you wish to discuss it. Okay, very good. So I have to go back to the speaking order, which is now Mr. Shields.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just clarification, we had a unanimous vote on saying that we could go back and deal with clauses after we get those statements. Is that correct?
No, the way it works, Mr. Shields, is that we had to rule out number 3 as was originally opposed. You need to go to unanimous consent in order to reopen amendments that we've already dispensed of. What I mentioned to Ms. McPherson was very simply that in order to do that, I have to ask that you adjourn this debate with a clarification or a qualifier that you will proceed to a unanimous consent. In other words, we're going to road test this thing, go to unanimous consent and see if it is there. If it is, or if it isn't, we get to go back to we get to go back to Mr. Housefather's motion, which has been amended, now sub-amended. I hope that's clear as mud, or at least, okay, so that's the issue about unanimous consent. We have to exit, do it, come back in.
Yeah, that's a good statement, clear as mud. I mean, when was mud clear? Interesting. What I do find is interesting in the sense of the discussion about adding witnesses from all, and Mr. Housefather would know this, in a court proceeding, often when things change in a sense during the process of dealing with an issue in court, that lawyers often ask for recalling of witnesses because more information, more testimony has come forward. So I understand what he is doing by adding those in as it's been asked for, because that's what you would want to do, is to be able to have that. And that's why we had suggested that at the beginning. So I think that's important, and I appreciate his work to try to facilitate that in the sense of we are in the process where things change. Everybody gets the opportunity to recall on this particular issue because it has changed significantly in the last few weeks. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shields. Quick clarification, as my reverend friend would say, please open your hymn books to the amendment from Mr. Waugh. And we are now currently on a sub-amendment by Mr. Housefather to require a panel of 4, 1 from each party, in addition to Minister of Justice and the Minister of Canadian Heritage. Ms. Harder.
Thank you. Chair, not to complicate things more, but
don't know if that's possible, ma'am.
Well, yeah. But actually, just in hopes of seeking some clarity, is there any chance of getting the amendment and the sub-amendment in writing so that we know exactly what it is that we're discussing right now?
Just for clarification, the amendment put forward by Mr. Waugh, we have.
Yes.
The sub-amendment, we do not, I don't think we have yet. I'm looking, no, Amy says we don't have it yet, our clerk. That's why I'm trying, in each and every turn, I'm trying to explain what it is. Again,
okay.
the sub-amendment that you do not have, again, is from Mr. Housefather, and it states, instead of Dr. Geist, we have an expert panel, one person selected by each recognized party at the committee, which would be 4 different panel experts, along with the Minister of Justice and Minister of Canadian Heritage. Now, go ahead, Ms. Harder.
Okay, So he's only doing, so he's sub-amending point 2, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Now, keep in mind, we've already decided to take the word separately out.
Right, that was unanimous consent was granted
Correct.
for that. Understood.
Correct. Right now, we're in number 2. That's what
Okay.
Mr. Housefather proposed.
Okay. Okay, so I know that you're doing your best, Mr. Chair, to like keep us on board and help us through this. I am wondering though, it is the custom of this committee to stop and make sure that we have something in writing, both obviously for clarity purposes, but also translation purposes for the block member in particular. But also, I guess my colleague, Mr. Reyes as well. Is that possible?
It is possible. We have 2 things that complicate. We have a vote coming soon within the House of Commons. So we could be in suspension when that happens. So the complicating factor is, can I get unanimous consent from the committee to reconvene even if the bells are ringing after this quick suspension? I hear a tremendous groan, Mr. Shields. It has a distinct flavor of your own groan I've heard before. But unfortunately, you don't have the floor. I appreciate the angst.
Point of order, Mr. Chair, though.
Oh, sorry, you have a point of order, Ms. DeBrucy.
As I understand it, Ms. Harder can speak, but she cannot vote. And as far as I understand, none of the voting members have raised an issue with the wording of the sub-amendment.
Yeah, okay. So that we're wandering into debate there.
Rappel au règlement, Monsieur le Président.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Shampoo.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Chair. As much as I'm rigorous on translation, as Ms. Harder said, and I like to have bilingual versions when we're debating, I think that considering the time that we do not have, in this case, I'm happy to make an exception because I really would like to find a solution. So I do understand the motion and the sub-amendment, and I'm ready to vote whenever my colleagues wish.
Okay. That being said, we still have people on the list to speak, but since we now have what seems to be, we're okay with not having it in writing, I'm going to repeat again the sub-amendment by Mr. Housefather, which states we take the name Dr. Michael Geist out and we provide one name from each recognized party on the committee to an expert panel along with Ministers Justice, Canadian Heritage. And that is what's been proposed. Everything else is intact. Now, I see Mr. Aitchison next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we've taken out the word separately because, you know, we've said it's okay for them all to appear together. Does Mr. Housefather's sub-amendment, do we need to actually have some timeframes around this expert panel coming at a different time as the ministers? Will one meeting suffice for the expert panel? I'm wondering if there's any discussion about that specifically.
Mr. Aitchison, if I may be so bold to paraphrase Mr. Housefather, and Mr. Housefather, please feel free to stop me if I'm not getting this right, which I enjoy. What he's asking for is to do this as soon before we reconsider, go back to clause by, so as soon as possible, I think it was the implication as to bringing in the 4 people from the expert panel and the 2 ministers, right? I see Mr. Housefather nodding, so I think that's as soon as possible.
Yes,
now
Mr.
I'm going to go back.
Just to repeat from Mr.
Just point of order, Mr. Housefather.
Oh, sorry, I thought you wanted me to clarify.
No, I was trying to do it for you, but if I've mischaracterized, then Mr. Aitchison, sorry, since you have the floor, can I give the floor to Mr. Housefather?
Well, maybe he can actually answer my question. No disrespect, sir, but you didn't answer my question. I'm wondering if we need to put some timeframes around the expert panel. Is it going to be one meeting? Do they need more than one meeting? That's what I'm wondering.
Okay, Mr. Housefather.
My good friend, Mr. Aitchison, what I had said was that I was hoping the ministers could come on Friday and that the expert panel could be convened for Monday. And so I would see 2 meetings, one with the ministers as soon as possible, and one as soon as possible after that with the expert panel.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Aitchison, I should have been clear. I apologize. Whenever I say as soon as possible, that's next meeting.
Okay. All
Carry
right,
on.
and I appreciate. I heard all that. I just what I was asking though is if there needs to be something in the motion that speaks to that, or if this is sufficient the way it is.
Let me just put my own interpretation on it for just very quickly. If it passes as to who's coming in, I will endeavor to do that ASAP because I get that's the direction from the committee, or at least that's how I hear it. Now, after Mr. Aitchison, I have Mr. Waugh.
Well, you've pretty well touched on some of the points that I was going to bring up, Mr. Chair. Maybe what we do need, though, is the Minister of Justice for 1 hour by himself, the Minister of Canadian Heritage 1 hour by himself, and the panel next week, if we can form that either Monday or Wednesday. I mean, I don't know how we're a week away here. We might need some time putting this panel together. And that would be a 2 hour meeting. But I know you guys want to talk about this, but I just thought I would throw it out. 1 hour for Justice, 1 hour for Canadian Heritage separately, and then 2 hours for our panel next week.
Actually, Mr. Waugh, I'm glad you did that, only because it spells out some of the logistics involved here. For instance, of the 4 people, our clerk, Amy, has to find these people, book them, and so on and so forth. I appreciate you bringing that up more than you know. But I don't, just for the committee's permission here, I don't think we need to formalize this, do we? And the timing and so on and so forth about this, other than the fact that we will endeavor to do this as soon as we can, starting with the meeting on Friday as proposed by Mr. Housefather, and we can see logistically how this can work out. Yeah, I'm going to go on to Mr. Champoux.
Monsieur le Président, je pense que Monsieur...
Mr. Chair, I think Mr. Reyes raised his hand first.
J'aurais simplement demandé...
I would have just asked for us to vote on it, but I think Mr. Reyes was before me.
Okay, I don't have him that way, but nevertheless, since you're ceding your time, we'll just proceed this in that way. Mr. Reyes.
Je vais faire ça très vite.
I'll be as quick as possible. Thank you, Mr. Champoux. I would just like to say one thing to make sure everyone is in agreement. We'll hear from the witness panel after having heard from both ministers. That was important for me because they will respond. So can I get a nod of the head? So if we can only get the ministers on Monday, they would come on Wednesday.
Oui.
Yes, thank you.
Don't need to repeat that, correct? Because I think I see enough nodding heads around the room as a critical mass of nods, if I could use that term, to proceed in that way. My goodness, I don't see any hands up. What is going on with this world? Anyway, let's just, what we're doing right now, seeing there is no further discussion or no further debate, that brings us to a vote. Now, let's be clear. What we're voting on is Mr. Housefather's sub-amendment to the motion put forward by he. And what it states is very simply that we're going to take out where it suggests Dr. Geist as a witness and say that we're going to have an expert panel with one witness proposed by each recognized party, one from the Liberals, one from the Conservatives, one from the Bloc, and one from the NDP, along with the Minister of Justice and Minister of Canadian Heritage. And we will do this as soon as possible over the next little while before we go on to anything else. Okay? That is the sub-amendment. I'm pausing only because see if anybody has a question, a clarification involved. Great. Don't see one? Okay, we're going to go to a vote. And Madam Clerk. Oh, you're on mute.
Apologies of all the times to lose my mouse. So the vote on Mr. Housefather's sub-amendment to Mr. Waugh's amendment of Mr. Housefather's motion. Mr. Housefather.
Yes.
Mr. Fillmore.
In favor.
Ms. DeBruson.
Yes.
Ms. Ian.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Monsieur Reyes,
Oui.
Mr. Aitchison,
Yes.
Ms. Harder,
Yes.
Mr. Waugh,
Yes.
Mr. Champoux,
Oui.
Ms. McPherson.
Yes.
11 yeas, sir.
Very good. I declare the sub-amendment accepted. Now we go back to the amendment that was put forward by Mr. Waugh, and it states this. There are 3 paragraphs. Number 1, he takes the word programs out to put in the word contents. In number 2, the sub-amended amendment is, instead of Dr. Michael Geis, we now have an expert panel of 4 people in addition to the Ministers of Justice, Canadian Heritage, and in number 3, suspend clause-by-clause consideration of Bill C-10 until the completion of both points 1 and 2 that I just read. That is the amendment from Mr. Waugh. Seeing no discussion, seeing no debate, I see a lot of thumbs up. And now we go to Madam Clerk for the vote.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, can we
On
vote by
division,
consent?
Mr. Chair?
One moment. Yes. If you would like to, let me try this again for the sake of time, because the bells are ringing. Shall the amendment carry?
Oui.
Carried. Now we return to the main motion from Mr. Housefather that now includes 3 points, not 2. I don't need to talk about this again. We're all clear? We're all clear as to what it is. Shall the motion from Mr. Housefather carry?
Yes. Oui.
Carried. You're a beautiful bunch. All right, let's, since the bells are ringing, you know what that means. We have to go do our duty. Folks, thank you very much. I want to thank our guests as well who played the part of spectators, but nevertheless, very important function. Even you, Mr. Fillmore. Good job. Thank you. All right, folks, let we adjourn until next meeting, which will be this coming Friday, usual time, usual place. Okay. Oh, my flag. Meeting adjourned.